led to article after article of people being like, Ellen is a nasty person. And all these staffers started to come out, not for nothing, but I know a guy, I know him very well, whose sister worked for her, who said, you were not allowed to make eye contact with Ellen in the halls of that show. If you saw her, this is not a nice person. So she eventually got canceled, but now she's...
What happens when Megyn Kelly drops truth bombs and Schneider stirs up chaos? You get a roast so fierce, Ellen DeGeneres might just moonwalk off the planet. Turns out the Queen of Kindness has some skeletons dancing in her closet, and these two just threw the doors wide open. Backstage drama, Hollywood fakery, and secrets that could crack her smile. Yeah, this one's a full-on expose. Stay tuned. Ellen's PR team is already feeling the heat.
Question for you on this. This is perfect for you. Because I'm seeing this week that there is an attempted comeback by somebody who did not cross one of those fateful lines of the misstepping on their sacred cows of gender or race or sexuality.
Yeah.
But she was said to be a nasty biatch, and that's Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah.
So her show got canceled after she had this testy exchange with Dakota Johnson, where something happened where Dakota said, I had this birthday party, and Ellen said, well, why didn't you invite me? You didn't invite me. And she said, no, I did invite you, Ellen. That's not what happened. And Ellen had blown her off and then tried to play the victim on the set with her. Anyway, it led to article after article of people.
What do you get when a media expert and a comedy wildcard step into the same room with one target? You get the fierce, almost poetic takedown of Ellen DeGeneres' polished image. Megyn Kelly brought the precision. Schneider brought the heat, and Ellen brought the moves that now look like a smoke signal asking for mercy. Let's start with Megyn Kelly, a woman who can cut through any story with sharp words and still have enough wit left to slice sarcasm into a soap bubble. Megyn doesn't glide through life holding hands and singing tunes. She's not subtle, not about fake kindness, and definitely not about celebrity acts wrapped in sweetness.
I'm just like, of all people on earth to be feeling sorry for herself, Ellen DeGeneres should not be on the list.
She should at least, but make a real apology and do it.
There's no apology. It's just woe is me. I was run out of Hollywood as she speaks from this grandiose stage on Netflix. Hello, you haven't been canceled if you are doing a Netflix special. She got $20 million for the one before this. I'm sure she's fine.
I'm sure.
So naturally, Ellen DeGeneres seemed eager to catch Megyn's attention. After all, it's one thing to wear the mask of Hollywood kindness. It's another to hold it together with top-tier publicists and hope no one sees the smoke behind the scenes. Spoiler alert. Megyn saw it all, and she came prepared, with proof, sharp words, and maybe even more.
We're back in, Rob, because she's a lesbian, she's a leftist, and she didn't hit one of their sacred cows. Nastiness, that's their bread and butter.
Well, I think everyone... I will say, the resentment, I think everyone should have a chance for reconciliation. I don't think Jesus exempted anybody. And so I do, while it does, because I have been allowed back in, but I don't hold any grievance and resentment. It's very important. And I would just say for Ellen, the resentment, you have to get over resentment to whatever addiction or addictive qualities happen. To get over it, you have to deal with resentment and address it, and then otherwise you're going to fall.
Now the irony is thick. Ellen spent years building a brand on dance breaks and awkward celebrity hugs, all while quietly creating a workplace vibe that felt colder than expected. But if you listen to Megyn, that wasn't just a small contradiction. It was a full-on performance, Broadway-level acting without the Tony Award. See, Megyn didn't just say, hey, Ellen might be tough. That would be way too mild. Instead, she tore down the whole structure of Ellen's kindness empire with the ease of folding a house of cards using a leaf blower. According to her, it wasn't just behind-the-scenes chatter. It was about how the brand systemically dodged, denied, and danced its way out of real responsibility. And then came the apology tour. That moment when Ellen gave a soft-focus apology on national TV with apologetic lighting and all the vibes. Megyn didn't buy it. In fact, she might have called it the funniest accidental sketch of the decade. She saw it as a brand-saving move dressed up as regret, a corporate jumpstart trying to revive a failing PR case. And while Megyn sliced through Ellen's story like carving a Thanksgiving turkey, Rob Schneider showed up like a guy who stumbled into a clown car and decided to light it up for laughs.
Netflix special. That's the right response.
Yeah.
She's got a Netflix special. And here's the capper. On the promo, she plays the victim. And she says, poor me. And she actually has the nerve to say that she was run out of Hollywood. This person
with $100 million in her pocket.
$450 million, according to Forbes. That's a low estimate.
Yeah.
Because so now she's out there saying, I was run out of Hollywood. She's actually reportedly complaining about how hard it is for women in America with the double standards.
Look at Oprah, how hard it is for her.
Oh, she's got, like 10 houses, Ellen DeGeneres?
Michelle Obama, look how hard it is for women in America. They're hurting.
Now Rob, lest his chaotic little soul doesn't tiptoe. He doesn't even walk straight. He crashes into topics sideways, wearing roller skates and a helmet made of sarcasm. When he focused on Ellen, it wasn't for a feud. It was because he spotted Hollywood hypocrisy screaming so loud it gave him tinnitus. For Rob, Ellen wasn't just a daytime icon. She was the queen of performative kindness, someone whose backstage vibe felt more like a hostage situation wrapped in a talk show. According to him, being on her set felt like dropping into a dystopian store run by Stepford interns and controlled by telepathy. He didn't hold back. He turned Ellen's famous staff fear into a comedy bit, using the tone usually saved for survival stories or cult reality shows. Picture this: a green room so tense it could snap a yoga instructor, assistants delivering directions like messages from a wizard who must not be named, eye contact discouraged, smiles choreographed to perfection or else. And then there's that moment, you know the one, when Ellen apparently couldn't be bothered to greet her guest personally. Instead, an assistant showed up with cards. Rob turned that into a bit so savage it might be banned in some places. It wasn't just comedy, it was a one-man roast of a daytime legend. But what makes it so sharp isn't just the jokes. It's that Rob, unlike Ellen, doesn't hide behind a brand.
A user asked his followers to share the craziest stories they'd heard about Ellen being rude, and what followed was pure chaos. It was like watching thousands of people piece together a giant puzzle of bad behavior. One user replied with, quote, I worked at Real Food Daily, served her and Portia at brunch. She wrote a letter to the owner and complained about my chipped nail polish. Not that it was on her plate, but just that it was on my hand. I had worked till the closing night before, and it was just the next morning. Almost got.
He doesn't pretend to be your emotional support while quietly planning how to control every detail around him. He says what he wants. Consequences be damned. That kind of unfiltered chaos cuts through the fake fog like a wrecking ball wrapped in glitter. So now you've got Megyn methodically tearing down Ellen's image scaffolding and Rob gleefully setting fire to the leftover pieces. Together, they formed the strangest but most effective wrecking crew daytime TV has ever seen. Because this wasn't just about one tough boss. It was about the whole illusion Hollywood sells, kindness wrapped in gift wrap and confetti, and how fast it unravels when someone peels back the branding. Ellen was supposed to be untouchable, an icon, a symbol of joy. But when you build your empire on smiles and snapping your fingers at backup dancers, you better hope the crew behind the scenes isn't quietly hoping for the Wi-Fi to cut out mid-show. Megyn Kelly's critique hit like a journalist exposing a scheme of fake good vibes. Rob Schneider's hit like a whoopee cushion rigged with surprises. Together, they shattered the myth of Ellen's eternal kindness in high definition. And the best part, neither needed a dramatic showdown. No sit-downs, no angry debates. Just pure, raw roasting from two totally different worlds who landed on the same truth. Ellen DeGeneres was about as kind behind the scenes as a blender gone haywire. Ellen's downfall wasn't sudden, it was a slow leak. A drip of stories people ignored until Megyn and Rob came through with floodlights and a megaphone.
Situation.
Yeah.
You know, people found out that Ellen was mean, and all these people came out and said, Ellen's actually a bitch. And they were like, whoa,
Yeah.
I can't believe it. And she lost everything. She fell apart, disappeared, because people found out that this character that she was portraying in a half an hour on a television show is not really who she was. My buddy Greg, who was one of her writers, was like, she's a piece of shit. And he was like, she's a...
Megyn didn't crack jokes. She cracked reputations. Rob didn't hand out charges. He threw pies with facts hidden inside. And Ellen? Well, she just kept dancing right off the credibility cliff. Let's talk about that kindness campaign, shall we? The shirts, the mugs, the throw pillows embroidered with phrases like "be kind" in fonts so bubbly they could cause a sugar rush. It was less a philosophy and more a product line, a merch empire dressed up as moral guidance. And once the story came out, the mistreatment, the fear, the culture of silence, those pillows started feeling less like home decor and more like passive-aggressive warnings. Megyn wasn't buying it. She saw right through the smiley smokescreen. It wasn't just a few mistakes. It was that Ellen industrialized her image and wrapped it around a reality that supposedly couldn't be more different from her on-air persona. And in Megyn's world, that's a cardinal sin. Authenticity matters. If you fake it on the backs of scared interns and silenced employees, you're not just a hypocrite, you're a brand risk. Meanwhile, Rob turned that same hypocrisy into material. He practically weaponized awkwardness, imagining the Ellen show as a kind of corporate Hunger Games with dance breaks. He joked that being on her set felt like entering a pastel-colored military base. Smiles weren't optional. Laughter was expected, and any slip from the script risked setting off a trapdoor.
Progress with the strike?
They're picketing right now, so I think it's the early stages. I would think it might take a little bit with this one.
When someone crosses the writer strike, that's some dirty shit. Do they cross the picket line?
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody doing that yet.
I think Ellen did. I had a buddy of mine who was writing on Ellen. Everybody kind of knows now what she's really all about. And that's another one of those. Like, press. I'm so nice and I'm so sweet.
But here's where it gets truly poetic. Megyn and Rob, two figures you wouldn't usually see in the same zip code, let alone the same rhetorical hit squad, ended up delivering one of the most compelling takedowns in pop culture history. One did it with precision, the other did it with chaos, and both, intentionally or not, exposed a bigger truth about how celebrity brands are built on carefully crafted stories. Ellen's empire was never just interviews and viral clips. It was a lifestyle, a narrative, the idea that you could smile through anything, dance away your problems, and wear kindness like armor. But when that armor cracked, it wasn't critics or tabloids who tore it apart. It was people like Megyn and Rob who had nothing to gain from the takedown and no reason to lie. What makes this story so captivating isn't just the fall of a beloved figure. It's how that fall was told by two people from totally different worlds, united by one unspoken rule. If you're going to act like the nicest person in the room, don't be surprised when someone flips on the lights. Ellen tried to control the story, the carefully crafted apologies, the managed interviews, the emotional goodbyes on her final season, all of it dripping with
I'm pleasantly surprised to find out I'm kind.
Well, yeah, that's disingenuous. That's disingenuous.
Yeah, disingenuous.
Disgenerous. That's disgenerous. Well, I think there's certainly no lack of, I don't sense any humility in that.
No, and no one cares that now she's dealing with chickens. It's like, all right,
You're a normal $450 million person.
And by the way, I guarantee you she's
Who's
worth
taking care of her
more.
chickens? I guarantee, what's that? You guarantee what?
She's worth a lot more than $450 million.
Her art alone.
And like those talk show hosts.
Her devil worship.
But spin doesn't work when people have already smelled the smoke. Megyn was the fire alarm. Rob was the guy roasting marshmallows in the flames. And while Ellen has tried to quietly fade into her mansion-shaped sunset, the legacy she left behind isn't the shining temple of kindness it once was. It's more like a gift shop attached to a haunted house, still selling merch, but now with a chill of unease. So no, this wasn't a debate. No rebuttals, no on-stage apologies, just two very different personalities pointing at the same cracked pedestal and saying in their own sharp ways, that thing you worshipped, it was hollow. And the audience, they're not dancing anymore, they're watching. Wondering who else built a kingdom on smiles and silence, and more importantly, who's next. Megyn Kelly and Schneider might seem like the oddest duo since a grumpy cat teamed up with a broken Roomba. But when it comes to exposing Ellen, they're strangely in sync. Megyn moves in like a legal scalpel, calm, precise, and ready to cut through the fluff like it's scripted NBC jargon.
Sorry for them. We don't, right? It's like all those you saw, like Julia Roberts on the Oprah special with Kamala Harris, like, oh, and Meryl Streep. Like,
I know, winning over the hearts of people who live in gated communities everywhere.
Well, wait, are these still your people? Are you still in California?
No, I had to move out of California because I
Yes.
got little kids. And
We
it's
understand why.
It's dangerous to, in California, take your kids, in public schools. In the morning you drop off a girl, in the afternoon you pick up a boy. You never know what you're going to get.
Rob, on the other hand, charges in like a caffeinated raccoon in a newsroom, flinging banana peels and one-liners with zero filter. Surgical versus slapstick. Fox News versus funny jokes. Yet both are preaching the same truth. Ellen was never who she claimed to be. And that's what makes it hit harder. This isn't a Hollywood hit job. It's not Megyn chasing relevance or Rob hunting clout. These are two people from totally different corners of the circus tent pointing at the same juggler and yelling. She dropped the act and hoped no one noticed. Because when your empire is built on awkward dances with celebrities and handing out blenders like spiritual salvation, it only takes one backstage scream or assistant meltdown to shatter the illusion. This isn't cancel culture. Cancel culture is what happens when you tweet something dumb in 2008 and lose your Netflix deal in 2025. No, this is accountability culture. It's the natural result of selling kindness like a celebrity sells skincare while treating your staff like studio furniture. And in a world where relatable sells faster than reality, Ellen's forced grin became Exhibit A in the trial of celebrity authenticity. As for the grand finale of her show, think tearful goodbyes with the emotional depth of a printer test page, more choreographed than a Super Bowl halftime show, with enough PR spin to power a small turbine. If you listen closely, you can almost hear Schneider yelling "cut" in the background while Megyn scribbles "case closed" in her notes. So now we wait. Will Ellen pop up 6 months from now with some pastel-colored rebrand about mindfulness and vegan cheese? Or will she fade into the curated mist, remembered only through awkward gifs and haunted commercials? One thing's clear. If you spend 2 decades building a glass castle made of kindness clichés, don't be shocked when people start chucking rocks made of truth. Because if Megyn Kelly and Schneider can agree on something, maybe it's worth a second look. Especially if that second look reveals a smiling empire held together by cards, PR panic, and the desperate hum of off-camera tension. So here we are. Ellen DeGeneres, the brand that danced too close to the sun, melted its kindness wings and crash-landed into the land of receipts, all because two people who couldn't be more different pulled back the curtain and found not a wizard, but a very tired, very scripted daytime diva still clinging to the beat of a dance